Okay, we're going to do another video today. I'm going to discuss the origin story of the Norse religion, starting with the idea of how we came to be created, as well as how the universe itself came to be created. So we'll start with Muspelheim. Muspelheim is the realm of fire, and within that, eventually you'll find the frost giants. It's questionable about whether they came before or after the whole incident with the Ginnungagap. But the fact is that the fire giants do live in Muspelheim. Within Niflheim, you will find several rivers as well as one of the wells that feed the tree Yggdrasil. The tree is questionable again whether it came before or after the Ginnungagap situation, as well as whether Nidhaller, the dragon or serpent that gnaws at the base of the Yggdrasil, is before or after this situation. Okay, so moving on from there, you have the Ginnungagap itself. It is the space. It just literally means the space between. And we're talking about the space between Muspelheim and Niflheim. Whereas Muspelheim is the realm of fire, Niflheim is the not quite meaning cold, but stagnation. Yes, it is very cold, but so is the realm of the giants. So that's not very specific. So we're talking about the idea of absolute zero in human terms. That is the description of Niflheim, where it means stagnation and ceasing, whereas Muspelheim's idea is destruction, but with destruction comes creation, right? So change. That is what Muspelheim represents, whereas Niflheim obviously represents stagnation. So fire and cold would meet within the Ginnungagap. There is two theories about what happened here. One theory gives idea of an explosion that takes place, which gives credence to the scientific theory, right, of the atoms and the Big Bang theory, right? There's another theory that just talks about mist. So understand that with all of my videos, these are my interpretations. They're not perfect. They are my interpretations of the sagas and what the sagas mean to me. So with that being said, there is different ways to interpret things, and your interpretation is going to be yours. It is not going to be the same. It might not be the same as mine, and that is okay. We are a very open and accepting religion. I'm not going to judge you for having different opinions than mine. So that if you believe that it was an explosion, it was an explosion. If you believe it was mist, it was mist. This goes for all of our sagas, all of the interpretations that I make. You can have your own ideas. So I personally believe in the explosion theory because that is what I came to know first, and that is probably what I'll stick with because it does follow the scientific theory, and I do believe science does play quite a big role in our world. So out of this explosion or this mist came two major things. So first is Ymir, the first frost giant or ogre, depending on your literal translation of the original texts from Younger Futhark. Yes, I say Younger Futhark because it was the Younger Futhark that it was originally started to be translated in. Obviously, none of our sagas were written in that because, well, for the most part, most of our sagas were written by Christians because we were not well known for writing things down. Anyways, yes, translated from Younger Futhark on different stone tablets that we did start writing on. Elder Futhark had already been phased out long before this point. Before even the Viking Age that started in 632. So we're talking a young Elder Futhark phased out around the 1st century. So, yes, I do mean Younger Futhark. So Ymir, the first giant, and Umtala the cow. So Ymir would feast on the cow's milk, which was supposed to be sweet as honey, right? And from Ymir's sweat on his left and right arms begot a man and a woman, and from his groin begot another man. These would be the first frost giants that he gave birth to. Over time, they would obviously go on to create the rest of the race. So while Umdahala fed on the ice and salt that she licked from the area around Niflheim, while licking one of these ice chunks, she ended up revealing Buri, who is the forefather of Odin, Vili, and Ve. Buri would marry a female from the Frost Giant clan, would give birth to Bor. Bor then also married another Frost Giant and begot Odin, Vili, and Ve. So that's how the three brothers came to be. So during this time, an unknown amount of time, Odin, Vili, and Ve were disagreeable to the way that all the frost giants, as well as themselves, were being treated by Ymir. They considered Ymir a tyrant because nobody but Ymir was allowed to eat from or drink from the cow. It was everybody had to eat the moss and things growing upon the rocks, and this angered Odin, Vili, and Ve, and so they slew Ymir. From Ymir, they would go on to create the rest of the 9 realms. Muspelheim and Niflheim already being created, they would craft the other 7. So, that being said, speaking about Ymir and what they used to craft things from, his blood would become the oceans and the lakes, his flesh the earth, his hair the trees, and his bones the mountains. Rocks came from his teeth, from the maggots of his flesh. They created the dwarves or the dark elves. The skull became the skies, and his brain was fashioned into clouds. The fires of Muspelheim became fashioned into the stars, and there are several different theories about the light elves, none of which I am as familiar with, but I do know that they were fashioned from Ymir as well. I believe it was the flies covering the carcass. I'm not as familiar with them because I have focused most of my understanding on the sagas after this. I will have to definitely read, and I will post a response to this video later on, giving you a better indication of how the Alfheim, the Alfheim is their location, how the Alfheimir, the light elves of Alfheim were created. So, also, out of an elm and ash tree that Odin, Vili, and Ve found on the ocean shore that they also created out of, obviously, his blood, they fashioned man and woman who would come to be inhabit Midgard, which was fashioned from his eyebrows. The Frost Giants weren't thrilled with Ymir being killed because, obviously, being their forefather, they were very unhappy. So Midgard was fashioned from his eyebrows to separate the gods from the Frost Giants. That being said, they also fashioned they would beget the Aesir in Asgard, right? So they did create that. There was another group that would also be created during this whole time, which we know as the Vanir. They were stationed in Vanaheim. Their origin story is a little weird because they are both part. Best way to describe it is they're kind of like the Aesir, but they're not. They're also part Frost Giant, just like the Aesir. That being said, the Aesir are gods that represent the human traits that we have: honor, courage, wisdom, strength, things like that. Whereas the Vanir represent more abstract concepts and also nature. It's very confusing because the frost giants also represent the chaoticness of nature, whereas, for instance, the leader of the Vanir, Njord, represents the oceans and the seas. The frost giants would represent the destruction that could be got by the oceans and seas. That is a very, for instance, we have Scotty. Scotty represents the deathly cold of the snow in the mountains, right? So if that gives you a good idea of understanding, is the separation between the gods themselves as well and the frost giants, because don't take that for granted, because the frost giants do play a very big role in religion, not as a negative factor, but also a positive factor, because there were many good frost giants. Actually, almost all of the named frost giants, but a handful. There are a couple that aren't very nice that are named, but a large group of the named frost giants are in and of a sense good, or more aligned with the good side, I should say. That is the origin story of our culture. Being said, if you have any questions on this short, please let me know. I will do my best to answer when I can. And knowing that there will be another video this weekend, maybe tomorrow, might do one later today. We'll find out. It depends on how much available time I have. I will try to pump out 3 more videos at least this week, because I will not be available next week or the week after. So, thank you guys. Bye.